Let me tell you a story. He who have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit of the Lord is about to say. I'm going to tell you a story of a booklet that I read called Three Kingdoms. But I'm going to add a little in, and I'm going to add on a fourth kingdom. So I'm going to talk about four kingdoms. I read a little booklet called Three Kingdoms. And the booklet is about an elephant who rules the forest, a shark who rules the water, and a hawk who rules the air. Now, there are people on the land whose survival is on having access to the forest, to the water, and to the air. But the elephant refuses to allow people to come into the forest. But the elephant ends up falling into a hole. And when he falls into a hole, it takes the power of the people. The people who come together, the people who work together, the people who sit down and tell stories of how they have overcome and how they have won victories and how they have built things and had skills in place to be able to do things. But it took for the people to come together and to tell the stories and to talk about their victories, how they overcome, and how the skills and the things that they have created were able to operate and do things. So when the elephant falls into a pit, the people, they build this ginormous net and they pull the elephant out of the pit, because none of the four-legged creatures or none of the other creatures that was in the forest had the power to help the elephant out of the pit, out of the hole that he had fell into. It took the power of the people to pull the elephant out of the hole. So the elephant, after bragging about his kingdom being the greatest kingdom, that ever is and that ever was, he had to allow the people and give the people access into the forest. Now, the shark did the same bragging. His kingdom is the greatest kingdom. He doesn't give people access to his kingdom because he dominates his kingdom. And he was ferocious. When the people tried to get access into the water, the fish, or to do anything, the shark would attack. And the people were afraid. They were intimidated. They were really afraid of this shark. But the people came together and they sat and they told the stories and they talked about the skills and the things that they had, and they used the net to throw in the water. And when they threw the net in the water, the shark was taken captive by the net. And the people said to the shark, "You give us access to the water and we will loose you from the net." The shark fought and tried to get out of the net, but he couldn't, because the people had power over the shark with the net over the shark. So the shark agreed, and he ended up giving people access to the water. The hawk laughed at the elephant, laughed at the shark. "I told you my kingdom was the greatest kingdom. I fly high. Nobody can reach me up here," and things of that nature. But the hawk forgot that the hawk had to come down to rest. And the people came together and they told the stories and they used the net to come against the hawk. And when the hawk came down to land on his favorite tree, he was captured in the net and had to realize that the people had the power to keep him from flying. He couldn't move. He couldn't do anything in the net. So he ended up making an agreement to give the people access to the air, because the elephant was keeping the people out of the forest, the shark was keeping the people out of the water, and the hawk was keeping the people out of the air. Now, with the people defeating these three kingdoms, the people forgot that they were a part of a great kingdom, with using the fear to be kept out of the kingdoms, not recognizing that they had all power over all kingdoms, because the King of Kings, who gave them the dominion over the kingdom, gave them the power to not be threatened by any other kingdom. But because they forgot who they were until they all came together, until they remembered the stories, because they remember how they've always overcame, and how they always had the power within them to overcome, because they are kings. They are kings of the King of Kings. They are rulers. They are put in dominant positions to rule over. So even when evil people rise up, they are able to overcome any evil kingdom, because people uses the kingdom of the air and the kingdom of the water and the kingdom of the forest to ensnare people and to control people and to keep people from their dominance, to keep people from the great things that God has already given to the people. So when evil people rise up and evil people are in position, it takes the storytelling. It takes for the people to come together. It takes for the people to remember what was already put in place, and the nets and the snares and the things that they could use to overcome the evil people, the evil forces that are working against them and keeping them out of the kingdoms that they should be dominating anyway. The King of Kings has given us the power and put us in position as people to come together to be able to overthrow any evil force. But what we allow is for there to be one big kahuna who sits in position, who manages a certain part of a territory, but wants to keep kingdom people out of the king's territory and dominate the territory that he is managing. And while he is managing that territory under evil influences, the people are afraid. The people are afraid to do anything because they're afraid of the big kahuna and his power and the kingdom and all of the things that he is ruling over, instead of remembering who they are as rulers over it all. So they allow for the evil to dominate over what it is that they already have power and authority to conquer. They forget that they have already conquered the elephant, that they have already conquered the shark, that they have already conquered the hawk that is in the air. They feel weak and feel like they have no power to conquer the big kahuna who is now in position, who is dominating and stripping and taking and moving and doing his own thing, instead of recognizing that they are the majority who have the power to overcome anything. When they come together, when they read and remember the stories that were already told, how they were already overcomers, how they already have the victory because the king has already put them in position of power and already given them the power and the authority to overcome anything, that they are unstoppable when they work together, when they come together, when they are on assignment to break that fear. They put the net out. And it doesn't matter how high it flies, or how big it may seem to be, or how ferocious it may seem to be. When the people come together, when the people are working the kingdom, when the people recognize and are standing on their kingdom promises, they are able to pull down any force that is keeping them from the promises of everything that the King of Kings, who owns it all, has already given unto them. The King of Kings is the king who owns everything, but they take their eyes off of the King of Kings and focus on the manager who is in position, who brings terror to them, instead of them using the net, the networking, the skills, the power of the people to pull, to use the net, to get the victory, instead of complaining about what the big kahuna is doing, keeping their eyes on the big kahuna, when they had the power to put things into position, nets into position, to make sure that the big kahuna did not put them into places where they lost their ownership. So the big kahuna appears to have power, but it is the people who still have power, no matter what position the big kahuna tries